Hey everybody, it's me, Chan, and welcome back to Chansplaining, our weekly check-in with our fans and our audience and our haters here at cut.com. I thought I'd start with this comment in response to a video that we just produced in our lineup series called Guess Who's White Here? What is a white person? Well, good fucking question. I have no idea myself, but it seems like everybody has an opinion. So I thought we'd talk about a little bit of the discourses that came up in this video. For this video, we asked people in the lineup to guess amongst of all the participants who identifies as white. I can tell you now, some of you definitely did not like it. Amid the chaos, though, a couple of you specifically requested that I describe this, or at least my take about it. So here's what you get. Feel free to send me hate mail below. What we're trying to do here in the lineup series, or in general on all of our content here at Cut, is just to open up small moments which really challenge and make us confront what we think of as reality and what we think of as absolutely true. One thing that I've learned just being a person in the world and also working at Cut and putting things out there on the internet is that any frank or open discussion about race, racism, or whiteness inaugurates already a suite or repertoire of defensive maneuvers of white people who ardently really cannot stand the discussion at all. We are not afraid of criticism. In fact, we welcome it. I do think it's helpful, though, if you don't rely on stupid old cliches like, oh, this open discussion about race is super BuzzFeed. I think if you do the intellectual exercise of trying to put into your own original thoughts what you are experiencing when you watch this video, you might surprise yourself with real insight. It's clear, though, that when we made this video, we violated a serious maxim for certain people, and that is describing and discussing whiteness itself. We're not here to convince you of an agenda. We can't convince you that racism is real. We can't convince you that white privilege is real. We can't convince you that white privilege favors white lives over others, particularly in the United States. I can't get you to believe that stuff if you don't believe it, or when you listen to people's real experiences and choose not to process them as reality. All we want to do is for you to acknowledge that other people have different access to reality, the same reality we all inhabit, but experience the world in completely different ways, and that it's okay if that's complicated and complex. And in fact, your ability to imagine what other people might encounter in the world and understand that it's different from your own perspective will only make you a more well-rounded, thoughtful individual, and people are much more likely to invite you to a party because you'll probably be cooler and easier to talk to. Okay, so one of the can of worms that this video opens up is that what we think about when we talk about race and what we think about when we talk about ethnicity and identity, that those things are actually all moving targets. They seem to intertwine at certain moments. They seem to contradict each other in other moments. First, we should just be really clear, race is a social invention. It has no basis in biology. But yeah, it seems like all of you are saying, God, these people are confusing race with ethnicity, and it's ethnicity with skin color. To which we would say, yeah, we are collectively, socially, and globally confused about the difference between race and ethnicity because race is invented and constantly needs to be reinvented, sometimes using the proxies of skin color or other ethnic features or genealogy. But all in all is a completely unsustainable practice, which is why it always needs to be revisited and retooled. So what are we watching here when we watch this video? We're seeing a bunch of people who are forced to violate the social law of not making verbal judgments to people's faces. Does it look like a lot of white people?
In this social climate, you can't ask me questions like that.
I think it's a productive exercise because at the end, we can no longer conclusively say what a white person is.
Off the bat, I'm going to say that you are white.
Why do you think that?
I think it's the eyebrows. I don't know. I kind of think like you're
white people eyebrows.
What the lineup shows us is that these people can't correctly identify what a white person looks like or how a white person behaves. In fact, people in the lineup themselves that might pass as white or enjoy white privilege, they themselves are conflicted about how they should, at certain moments in time, identify.
My mom's white and my dad's black. Usually the question of my race isn't even something that ever comes up, so I usually just go through life every day as somebody who just is white.
If this game gave you an unsettling feeling, then I hope it did, because what we're doing is a kind of parody or kind of theater about other racial guessing games that have happened throughout history. We all know famously and classically about the ways that Nazis used racial science and racial hygiene to count and enumerate who should be sent to genocide. We know and remember intimately histories of apartheid and the kinds of procedures that people did to determine whether or not you lived in a township or you had full autonomy and freedom. These are real fucking things. They were completely arbitrary ways of measuring race and whiteness, but they had real material consequences. If you find it uncanny or uncomfortable to watch this video, is it because you might find yourself on the winning side of this game? I don't know. That's for you to decide. A lot of you were triggered by this word identify, as in which people identify as white. To which I'd say that's really interesting that you think that whiteness is somehow natural or an implicit quality that some people have and other people don't. Again, this lineup has deconstructed for us that it's really impossible to look at somebody and tell who's white. And that actually white people are constantly identifying as white all the time. When you check the box or you apply for scholarship and you say that you're white, when you describe yourself as white, you're identifying as white. There's nothing wrong with identifying as a white person or checking the box that acknowledges that you have white privilege or you have European ancestry or whatever whiteness means to you. The problem is when we think somehow that whiteness is natural or inherent, that there's some natural thing called whiteness out in the world that is scientifically reproducible and identifiable, because it frankly isn't. One need only look at the history, say, of the United States immigration policy to see that Germans, Italians, Jews, Armenians, Syrians, people of Lebanese descent, people with one black grandparent, people with one native grandparent, all might be considered white or not white at different moments in time. And the category of race is always shifting, and that the kinds of people that are invited to have white privilege are always under constant transformation. Some of you have used 18th or 19th century racial logic to this day to explain how Caucasianness or whiteness is itself a stable, scientific, taxonomical, anthropological category. To which I say, were you fucking sleeping in 1998 when we cracked the human genome and have conclusive scientific genetic evidence that there is no genetic variability between what we call the human races? And a lot of you patted yourselves on the back for not even seeing race at all, and for saying, fuck labels, we don't need them in this world. This video and other things that talk openly about the ways that we're labeled is just divisive.
Is it?
Well, it's nice that you acknowledge that race is a social construct, and that you congratulate yourself for not indulging in the myth of race. But to watch this video, and all that you can take away from it, is that I don't put people in labels and I don't see race and we're all humans, is your way of rhetorically turning your back and whitewashing the real material consequences that race has produced for people of color in the United States and in other places in the world, including Europe. They're everywhere if you look. So there are disparities in the way that people of color receive education or have access to higher education between how white people and non-white people get paid as their income or kinds of inheritances that they might receive one day. Access to avocado toast. Even today, white people, including medical students, still imagine that black people experience less pain than white people. In medicine, we still use a device called the spirometer, which was invented by Samuel Cartwright, a slave owner, to measure people's breaths. And there's a different setting on that device for black people. The procedure is called correcting for race. There's a cholesterol medication that was particularly marketed towards black patients. This is all in this decade, at this moment in contemporary American history. So I'm not really surprised that some of you think that race does not still continue to animate and motivate decisions made in every arena of our lives. Basically, get your shit together and realize that race has real material consequences in the world, whether or not you choose to believe it. It's real. Reverse racism. Yeah, a lot of people said that this video was guilty of the sin of reverse racism. What that means, as I understand from over here, is that some people of color said some mean things about your whiteness, and it wasn't cool, and it was just as bad as white people being racist to people of color. I'd say, yeah, maybe there is such a thing as reverse racism. To find out, we would probably need to go back in time 500 years, colonize Europe, enslave all the white people, create a racial science which taxonomizes them hierarchically and suggests that they're physiologically and biologically and intellectually inferior, implement a range or an ensemble of institutions to belittle and degrade them throughout the course of their lives so that they didn't see themselves as attractive, beautiful, represented in the media, deserving of health or safety, not the subjects of a criminal or legal system that was always trying to punitively incarcerate them, and that they would also not have access to quality long-term education. Then and only then could we really say that it would be racist to point out that they like to eat mayonnaise. There's no such thing as reverse racism. Get your shit together. I liked the video. I stand by the video. I get that it is so many complicated things happening in that video all at once and so many discourses to untangle. But I'd rather treat all of you like you're capable of beginning to untangle them, rather than to spoon feed you a really stupid basic narrative that's like, oh yeah, racism's bad. Oh, it's really clear that, I'd rather that we all sit together in this unsettling discomfort and out of it generate insight. Is it time for questions and chancers? This is a comment from Sarah. I swear these videos get into a weird deep part where you're like, okay, like, should I leave? Then it ends, and you're left thinking, damn, like, okay. Girl, I know. That's exactly what we're going for. So, thank you. This is from Yum Yum. Seattle people are weird AF. Okay, as I read this comment, Blaine is behind the camera gyrating his hips. So yeah, they are fucking weird as fuck. Watch cut, it is now your responsibility to get Kenny and Emily together. Hashtag campaign for Kenny. Hashtag my dude. We don't control people's fates. We leave that up to the gods. But if they have a baby, they better name it Cut. Oh yeah, the name change. Yeah, we did want to explain that. Everybody's like, oh, what, you changed your name? We didn't change our name per se. So it's true, we went from being called Watch Cut Video long ago, but we were always Cut. Nothing really changed. So if you look at the letters in the corner of the video, it says Cut. At the end of every video, there's a little card that says Cut. Our domain name is cut.com. But there may or may not have been some legal reason why we could not just call the channel Cut for a second. But now that is resolved on our end, at least. We now are just fully embracing our 3-letter name, Cut. Thanks for coming to Chansplaining. I've enjoyed our time together once again, and I look forward to your comments as always, even if they're critical. Until next time, leave a comment below, subscribe to our channel. You know the drill. I'll see you in hell.